What's up, party people? My name is Daryl Wilson. Today in this video, I'll be showing you guys how to use Google AdWords step by step. Now, Google AdWords is one of the best ways to build your brand and promote your business. It's also a great way to start your branding campaigns and to get traffic to your website. I've been using Google AdWords for about 3 to 4 years. I've spent a little over $200,000 on Google AdWords, and I make anywhere between $20,000 to $30,000 a month with AdWords. Now, there's a lot to cover in this video, but by the end of this video, you guys will know how to properly utilize Google AdWords, and you'll also know how to create successful Google AdWords campaigns. Now, we're gonna break this video up into 4 different sections.
Section 1, I'll teach you how to create a Google AdWords account. We will explore some of the basic options and get you ready to create your first Google Ads. In Section 2, I'll teach you how to create a Google Dynamic Search ad and a Google Search ad. These ads are displayed within the Google search. I'll explain how to pick your audience, how to select keywords, talk about site links, and common errors most beginners make with AdWords. I'll explain what a Google Search Partner is and talk about specific options within your campaigns. I will also show you how to read the AdWords analytics and integrate Google AdWords to your WordPress website. In Section 3, I'll teach you how to use the Google Display Network and create a Google Display ad. A display ad is a banner or text ad that appears on various websites within the Google Display Networks. These ads are very effective for branding and showcasing your product, service, or websites. In Section 4, I'll talk about resources. I'll show you some additional free resources that can help you create optimal Google ads to make sure that you get clicks and visitors to your website.
You guys ready? Let's go ahead and go to step 1 and create your Google AdWords account. All right, and this is Google AdWords, and this is where you guys can sign up and make an account. Now, in order to use AdWords, you guys must have a Gmail account. If you guys don't have one, I'll go ahead and show you guys how to create one. If you guys do have one, you'll just go ahead and sign in with your Gmail account. So I'll go over here and click on Start Now. Also, I left this link in the description below this video, so you guys can just click that link and it'll take you directly to that page. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and make an account for the very first time to walk you through the setup process. So I'll go ahead and click on Use Another Accounts, and I'll create a new account for myself. And here I'll just put in some general information. So now you're going to enter in some login credentials. Now, instead of using my current email address, I'm going to create a new email address instead. And I'll go ahead and put it in here. I'll enter a password and then I'll click on Next. All right, and this is the current setup wizard. Now, Google tends to change this quite often. In fact, they probably change this every single month, so it's really hard to keep updated tutorials on this. However, in my experience, I always want to go back to the dashboard and I don't want to navigate through their wizard. So at the bottom right here, I'll click on Switch to Expert Mode. It's not really expert mode. It's just a way to go back to your original dashboard, and they just try to make it sound more complicated than it really is. All right, cool. And once you guys do that, it'll take you to your Google Ads dashboard. And this is where all the magic happens. This is where you can get a quick snapshot of your analytics and also where you can create campaigns. Before we create a campaign, I just want to introduce you all to some of the tools and general settings. At the top right here, you can see tools and settings. Over here, we have billing. Let's click on summary. Now, this is where you can add in your credit card. Now, I believe having a credit card is required to make an ad. I think Google has actually changed this, I'm not sure, but if you get an error saying that your ads don't run, it's because you need to add some sort of payment. You can add your credit card here, or your debit card, or your PayPal, or your bank accounts. So you'll go ahead and add in your payment gateway. And then once you do that, you'll click on Submit and Save. I'll go ahead and exit back here. Now there's another option that I also want to introduce you all to. All right, so once you guys add a payment gateway, up here at Tools and Settings, I want to click on Preferences. Now this is where you can adjust the language for your AdWords accounts. Also, sometimes Google may, pause your account or restrict it or do something. If that ever happens to you, you can actually view your account status right here. I'll be very honest, sometimes Google will randomly just block your account or they'll freeze it for whatever reason and you have to contact them. In my career of using Google Ads, this has happened sometimes. So if you do get no impressions or no clicks on any of your ads, just go ahead and check out your account status and make sure it's active. Now let's go ahead and click on the tools and settings again. And here we have access and security. Now, if you guys do want to grant access to your AdWords accounts to maybe an employee or your friend or even SEO company, this is where you do it. So for example, if you hire someone, they're saying, hey, can I have access to your AdWords account? This is where you do it at. So up here we have this plus button, and this is where you enter an email address. And from here, you guys can give specific access to whatever user. So for example, like we can put like my email address, right? And I'll just say like, I want Daryl to have access to the administrator, to standard, to read only, billing, or email and stuff like that. So again, this is where you can pretty much create another user role for anyone that wants to use the AdWords account on your behalf. So that's pretty much it, guys, for setting up your Google Ads account. Go ahead and tinker with some of the options, get used to it. But now let's go ahead and go to section 2 and create our first Google search ad. All right, party people, welcome to section 2. So in this part of the video, I'll be showing you guys how to create a Google search ad. Now I'll be showing you how to create 2 different types of search ads. I'll show you how to create a dynamic ad and also just a normal Google search ad. And I'll explain the differences between both. And here's a quick little snapshot of my accounts. We can see that we have spent a little over $200,000 on this account. And we have a lot of our campaigns and just a bunch of numbers and analytics and stuff. And yeah, I don't really even look at this too much, to be honest. I look at a majority of my analytics through the actual campaign section. So right here, you'll see campaigns. Go ahead and click on campaigns. And here is a list of current campaigns that are running. We can see the campaign is currently running. We can see the name of the campaign. We have our budget, which is how much we're spending per day. And then we also have the status. Now these ones are limited by budget. And all that means is that it's exhausted the daily budgets. And on the next day, it'll just reset. So don't panic if you see that. All right, and here we have our impressions. We have 307 million impressions for this AdWords account. We have 9 million clicks. And you can see that we have spent a little over $200,000 for this specific account. And if we scroll over here, we can see our earned subscribers, our earned likes. A lot of these are YouTube ads. So we have recorded the actual subscriber base. We have our engagement, our click-through rates, and then we also have just some more analytics over here. It's actually very ironic or funny, I should say. This ad right here is a dynamic search ad, and I'm gonna show you guys how to make that in the very next section. While we actually created this ad for this specific tutorial, someone actually bought something on our e-commerce website. You can see here we have 8 clicks and we have a conversion rate, meaning someone bought something. Here is the actual website that we're advertising. This is my my coffee website, kopicoffee.com, where we sell Indonesian coffee. And we are currently running ads on this website, and someone actually bought coffee. Here's the actual order. Someone spent $152 on this website through one of our ads. So you can see that it's actually a real thing, and you could possibly make money. It's actually very funny. So this is our current website, and we're going to go ahead and use this website throughout the video just to help you guys follow along with how to properly market your websites. Now, one thing I do want to mention, now, if you guys are running AdWords, and I'll just be very upfront and honest with you, and your site looks like crap, people won't buy anything. All right, let me be very clear on that, right? You can tell from our landing page, we spent a long time and a lot of work making a really nice landing page. So landing page is essential for conversions. If you have an ugly website, no one's gonna buy anything. Just remember that. Now, if you guys are noobs and you guys are using WordPress and you don't have any design skills, I do actually have pre-made templates that you guys can check out on my website. I'll go ahead and leave this link in the description below where we have designers making some really nice templates. And these templates only cost like 20 bucks, and it gives you like the full shebang, like the home, the about, the services. And we have a lot of designers making really nice websites. So if you guys do need help with design and inspiration, I highly recommend to check out my website, darylwilson.com, where we sell premium templates to help you build beautiful websites. All right, enough selling. All right, let's go ahead and create an ad. So to create your first ad, let's go over here and click on this create campaign and click on new campaign. And we're gonna create our first campaign. So here we have, what is your campaign objective? We have sales, leads, website traffic, and product and brand consideration. Now, in my whole career of using Google Ads, I have never used any of these because these come with massive restrictions. These are pretty much preset conditions for ads, and it doesn't let you do everything yourself. I want to be able to fully create my ad from scratch with no limitations. So to do that, we're going to select create a campaign without a goals guidance. Now here we have campaign type. Now we're going to select search, but let me just give you all like a little, my advice and opinion about these other ones. Performance Max is actually a really weird one and I don't like it. It combines the Google search, discovery, and video all together. So it pretty much uses everything, but I don't like doing that because it's a poor way to measure ROI, right? If you're combining all these different ads, it's very hard to measure performance. So next we have display ad, and we're gonna make a display ad in the very next section. And those are pretty much those big banners that you guys see on various blogs. And it's actually great for branding. And there's also discovery, which is a very low performing ROI search ad. And I'll show you guys an example of that in just a bit. But first, we're going to select search right here because we're going to create a search ad. So click on search. So next we have conversion goals, and we're going to set up conversion goals a little bit later. You guys should probably have maybe 3 here by default, right? I think Google Ads actually uses like 3 by default, but not to worry. I'll show you guys how to set up tracking a little bit later in this video. So for now, let's just go ahead and skip the conversion goals and go ahead and click on continue. Next, it's saying, what do you want from this campaign? Website visits, phone calls, app downloads. It doesn't really matter because you guys can always change this later, but I'll just go ahead and say website visits and put in my website, copycoffee.com. And for the campaign name, now here I recommend to put something that you can recognize, right? So for example, we're going to do search dynamic and then copy. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and change that. There we go. So right away, when I'm looking at this ad, I know it's a search ad, I know it's the dynamic ad, and I also know it's for my Copy Coffee website. So you might want to organize this a little bit later because after a while you might have tons of them and it might get hard to read them. So let's go ahead now and click on continue. We'll go ahead and click on start new. I have some in draft. I was messing around with this earlier. So the first thing is you're going to set your budgets, and I always recommend to set day by day. The reason why you don't want like a shared budget over a long period of time is because some days your budget might be spent all in one day, and then the last 5 days, like they just spend a little bit. So I like to set a individual budgets, right, of around $10. All right. Next we have bidding. So here we have conversions, conversion value, clicks, and impression shares. So impression shares is pretty much, how many times people saw the ad. Clicks is when they clicked on it. Conversions is when they actually converted. And conversion value, which you have to have previous data for, so we cannot select that. But I'm going to go ahead and select clicks here because I want to get clicks on my ad. And here we're going to select a maximum bid limit. It's very funny. You're always going to see these like warning signs from Google saying, oh, are you sure? Are you sure? Just ignore them. All right. Because the main thing is they want you to spend more money, and I don't want to spend more money. So I'm going to set a bid limit. If you don't set a bid limit, then Google's going to recommend what you're going to spend. And you don't want that to happen. You truly don't. Trust me. I have spent $19 on a click before because I set something to broad and I added no negative keywords, and I used the actual, I didn't set a limit, so it was terrible. It was bad. So I'm going to select something like 50 cents. Let's just get started with 50 cents, right? Something that's, that we're all comfortable with. I hope so, right? 50 cents. All right. But again, a CPC really depends on what you are offering, right? If you're a lawyer and you're trying to get clicks for 50 cents, that's not going to happen. All right. If you are in loans or mortgage, that's also not going to happen. It's going to be a little bit more expensive. But let's go ahead and go to more settings. And here we have the ad rotation. Now, this I usually leave on optimized, and this pretty much means whatever ad gets the best click-through rate, they're going to recommend more. And that's usually good because that means people have a tendency to click on that ad more. If you don't want that, you'll click on do not optimize. But for once, I can finally agree with Google, and I'll say I want to optimize this where I want my best performing ads selected the most. So I'll go ahead now and click on next. Now here we have search network and display network. Now, before we go on any further, I first want to educate you guys on all these type of ads and also what is the difference between a dynamic ad, a search ad, what is a search partner, and also what is the display network. All right, so here we go. Now, Google search ads. So Google search ads are very effective. You can display ads by keyword, audience, or location. You can add more details to make the ads longer for more visibility. These are also called site links. And when you guys do create your ads, I highly recommend to add in as many site links as you possibly can. The more site links, the better your ad is. It's pretty much how it goes. If your ad's better, it'll rank probably higher than your competitors. So we're first going to create what we call is a dynamic search ad. And I'll give you guys an example of that in just a bit. But a Google dynamic ads are dynamically generated headlines that target relevant searches based off the user's search. Okay, so there is no keyword research in this specific ad. Dynamic search ad uses audience or interest to target and not keywords. So for example, if users are going to coffee websites all the time, we can select those people that are going to those coffee websites. And there is no keyword research involved with dynamic search ads. Let me give you guys an example. Here we have this ad called, or we typed in cheap hotels in Austin, right? The very first one is cheap hotels in Austin. So this is an example right here of a dynamic ad. It takes the exact phrase the user searched and it dynamically updates it and puts it in your ad. The odds here of getting clicked is a lot higher because the user pretty much typed in something where they can see on the ad, right? We're giving them exactly what they're searching for. These ads have very high click-through rates. So usually when you have dynamic ads, they get clicked on a lot, to be honest. Now let's talk about the pros of dynamic search ads. They're very easy to make. Like if you're a complete beginner, you can make one in like 5 seconds. They're really easy. There is no keyword research required. You guys don't have to spend time going through spreadsheets and looking at keywords. It's a lot easier. Better audience targeting. So people who are interested right now in coffee, we can actually target those specific users based off their, their actions and what websites they're going to. Rotate headlines and description dynamically for best performing ads. So you guys can create like a few different headlines and descriptions, and it constantly rotates those to find out which is the best performing ad. So, it helps with your click-through rate. Now we have cons. With everything, guys, we always have cons. Limited control. You guys do have a lot less control with the Google search ads. The main reason why, and one of the biggest drawbacks is, let's say for example, someone types in very expensive coffee. Well, your ad might show up, right? Because they're interested in coffee, right? But very expensive, yeah, I don't know. We're still, you might pop up there. Next, we have negative keywords recommended. We'll talk about negative keywords a little bit later, but you guys can actually stop that. So let's say, for example, expensive, you can get rid of that, or free, or cheap, or courses, or community. There's a lot of words that you can negate from your search. So if someone types in expensive, your ad will not show up. So you do have some control, but you guys have to actually go in there and and add it in yourself. Can be unpredictable at times if negative keywords are not set. So since it's actually very broad, yeah, we're talking about coffee here, but we can talk about coffee makers, coffee meetups, right? Coffee communities, coffee education. So if you don't set like specific audiences exactly, sometimes you'll get weird results, right? So next we have better for larger websites. A lot of large corporations with large budgets who really want to learn how to maximize their budget usually run these type of ads. The main reason why is because they tend to be a little bit more expensive than normal Google search ads. And below that, CPC may be higher, 20% on average. So the cost per click for these specific ad types, they may be more expensive. Not necessarily, but there is a small statistic saying they are usually more expensive. Now let's talk about the additional type of ad that we're gonna run. This is called a Google search ad, and this is what we're gonna make right after we create a dynamic ad. So here the user typed in best web hosting, and we have the title of the ad, some description, and here we have site links, and we also have call out extensions. So these are call out extensions, and these are also site links. The great part about adding this to your ad is that users can actually navigate the website right here just by clicking on these ads. The main reason why this ad is on top of these other 3 ads, because these other 3 ads are not including any rich information, right? Google will reward the person who puts the most site links and the most effort into their ad versus other websites that really aren't doing much, right? So you can see that this ad is number 1 for a reason. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Google search ads. Google search ads use keywords in order to display the ad. It offers various ways to show ads such as broad, phrase, or exact match. We'll talk about those in the next section when we create the actual ad. Now the Google search ad, what are the pros? If you guys use keywords, you guys have more control over the ad, right? Because you can pretty much target exactly what you want to target with keywords. You can target broad audiences or more exact audiences. You can also test and experiment keywords. The great part about using your own keywords is that you guys can find out which one has the highest click-through rate. So once you find out like the sweet spot of the keywords, you can keep using that throughout all of your ads, right? Because if you have one performing very well, why change it, right? And you have more control over CPC. So these are a little bit more cheaper and you guys can set lower rates. There's also various options, like for example, broad match, where you can pay just like 5 cents or 4 cents. But then there's, targeting like exact match, which can be a little bit more expensive. But the main purpose here is that you do have more control over it. So next is, what are the cons of the basic Google search ad? You can easily make mistakes and burn through your budgets. This is a very common one. A lot of people just set broad and their budget disappears. Never, ever, ever select all broad. It's a very fast way to go through your entire budget. You must do extensive keyword research. Obviously, yeah, you have to spend a lot of time to find the best keywords. Test and experiment keywords. This can take time and money. So next we have more control over CPC. Sorry, I got that wrong. That's actually a pro. My bad, y'all. And lastly, we have CPC for some niches are very expensive. This is true. Depending on what niche you're in, the CPC can drastically change. For example, if you're a lawyer, the CPC on average is like $10 plus, just depending on where exactly you market yourself as a lawyer. And loans and mortgages are also very expensive. Just be mindful about that. This isn't the case for everybody, but if you are in very competitive, expensive niches with high profits, your CPC might be a little bit higher. All right. And after this third section, we're going to create a display ad. Now, these are great for branding. They display your ad on various websites, search partners as text ad or image ads. A great approach in order to create branding campaigns for new businesses or promotions. Now, I'll be very honest, display ads are great. We've actually converted off display ads. They're great. It pretty much adds banners all over the internet, and it really gets the word out about your business. Here's an example of a display ad. You guys have probably seen these on various blogs, right? So this is an example of a display ad, and here is also an example of a display ad. Now, for these specific ads, we'll talk about in the next section, but I always run CPM, which is basically saying how many times someone saw the ad, not clicked it. All right, so you guys can, we'll talk about that when we talk about display ads. Here we have search partners. So display your ads on various partner websites of Google. This includes YouTube, Amazon, or other search partners. I think they have like a list, right? I think there's like Amazon, YouTube, some Google, like the Google article websites, and just like their close partners. When we were creating the ad, there's a little checkbox to select the search partners. So this is what search partners are. So here is an example of the ad itself, right? So here I typed in digital agency, and this is an example of where your ad may appear for the Google partners. So it'll appear on, again, YouTube or, some other really close website that they're affiliated with. I personally don't like these ads too much because they're just really, there's no image, there's no video, there's no interaction. It's just text, and people hate text, right? It's just like text. Who wants to read that? I'm not going to click on that, right? It's like, get out of here. All right, so next we have shopping ads. Now in this video, I'm not going to cover shopping ads. That's going to be dedicated for a whole nother video. And when I do, I'll put that in the description. But these are another type of Google ads. These display on various products on Google search or their partners. It's a good way to promote your e-commerce products, but we still convert with just normal Google search ads. And next we have a discovery ad. Now I know this says discovery ad, and this could be some sort of display ad, but it really just depends on where Google puts them, right? Because this could have been a display ad, but sometimes discovery ads may display on like third-party websites. If you actually close those ads, it actually tells you like, hey, this is an ad by Google. You can actually see this is an ad by Google. And lastly, we have another discovery ad. These have low ROIs, but they're great for branding. You guys ever check your Gmail accounts and seeing you have those little ads right there? That's a discovery ad, right? So yeah, I hope this part helped you guys out. Hopefully you guys have a better understanding of what these ads are and where they appear. All right, so now that you guys have a better understanding of these ads, now let's go back to this. So search network, this will appear on pretty much like YouTube or Amazon, and I don't want that. In my personal opinion, it's always better to create a secondary ad specifically for display. I never run Google ads and display together because the conversion tracking gets mixed up and it's hard to tell which one converted from what. So I'm going to uncheck both of these, and we're gonna create a display ad in the third section. But for now, we're gonna create a Google ad. So let's go ahead now and scroll down. And next we have locations. Now, you guys can actually set specific regions in specific areas, and you can also exclude areas. Let me give you guys a few instances on where this might actually apply to you. For example, right here, I'll click on enter another location. Now, let's say, for example, you guys are in Las Vegas, right? You're a brick and mortar store with a physical location. You might wanna, target a specific region, right? So I'm gonna type in Las Vegas, and here we have a few options, right? Las Vegas, Nevada. So we're gonna go ahead and select Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, Las Vegas, Nevada and Reno, Nevada are pretty close to each other, right? So if you don't actually exclude Reno, sometimes your ad may appear in Reno, right? Because remember, this is Google with the machine and they're just, they're guesstimating. So if you are a physical location, you might want to exclude the areas around your specific area just so that your ads don't show up in unnecessary areas. So we're gonna go ahead and select Reno. There's a Reno, right? And instead of targeting, we're going to exclude, right? So I'm going to exclude that one. And we're also going to exclude California, right? So I'm also going to exclude California. The main reason why is because California and Las Vegas are very close to each other. And again, I just don't want my ads showing up in California. So this is an example of how to target specific regions and also reasons on why to exclude them. Me personally, I always exclude regions that are very close to whatever I'm targeting, right? So this again is for pretty much only brick and mortar stores. Now, let's say for example, you guys are a e-commerce website, right? With no physical presence. You can just go ahead and say, you know what? I just want to go ahead and just target United States, and leave it at that. Or if you want to target specific areas, you can say, I only want to target Nevada. All right, and here we have Nevada, which is the entire state. So you can get as dynamic and customizable as you want when selecting locations. Now here we have advanced search. And again, this is more for brick and mortar, and you can pretty much target specific areas right here. Like for example, we have a 20-mile radius of Las Vegas, right? You can do this. I have mixed results here because again, the ad can display on areas that you may not want. And the only thing that I've seen actually people use this for is events, right? So if you're having some sort of large event, you might want to target a whole area around like a specific area because, you want to target people 20 miles from Las Vegas. Maybe you have like a scary haunted house or something and you want, customers, something like that. So that's an example of the advanced search. And here we have location options. So you guys can target people that have regularly shown interest in your targeted locations, people that live in your specific area, or people who are searching for your targeted areas. It's really hard for me to say which one works. The only thing where I've seen this actually has some sort of issues, people having Airbnbs, right? So people who are looking for Airbnbs in specific areas don't necessarily live there, but they're looking for it, right? So you might want to pick something here that, applies to you, but I would just leave these both as recommended. All right, let's go ahead and select languages. Here you guys can select specific languages. So if you guys speak Chinese, you can say, all right, we'll select the Chinese and the Spanish and, whatever. You guys can select as many languages as you want. This is actually tracked through Google's browser. So they find out what websites they're going to, and that's how it pretty much determines what language they speak. I've always thought it's Mandarin, right? I don't know why they don't have Mandarin on here. Is Mandarin not a language? I don't know. Google says Chinese, but we've had this whole discussion before and yeah, whatever. But we're gonna go ahead and close these here. And I'm just gonna say English only. And here we have audience segments. All right, so let me explain here. So if you guys are running dynamic ads, then you guys will have to adjust your audience segments. If you guys are not using dynamic ads, then there's no need to use audience segments because you're tracking people based off keywords. So for this specific ad, we're going to create a dynamic ad and we're also gonna pick the audience segments. Now here we have some audience segments on the left side, and these are people who have interest in these specific markets, right? For example, we have web hosting, domain registration, web services, email marketing services, and so on and so forth. So you guys can go ahead and pick categories based off people's interests. Technology, for coffee, I would think that's everybody, right? I mean, we can pick developers, web designers, and also people who love coffee, right? I mean, I think everyone loves coffee. Now you guys can also go up here and type it in, coffee. And then it'll give you a list of recommended groups, right? Now let's click on browse right here. So next we have a few audience segments, and these are actually very important. The first one is detailed demographics, affinity, in markets, and similar segments. But for these two, you have to have previous data in order to use. So we're gonna focus on these three. The first one is pretty much just targeting people based off their status, right? Or education or their life events. My honest opinion, I don't have a lot of luck with these ads. A lot of them barely even run. So in my personal opinion, I don't use them too much. I have, but I just get very low impressions. However, you guys can select people based off education or parental status or whatever you want right here. The next one is affinity. Now, affinity means people who have a common interest but are not necessarily looking, right? I love computers. Am I looking for a computer right now? No, but I have looked in the past, right? So I would be an affinity audience. So it's generally people who have an interest in something, but they're not actively looking for it, right? Makes sense? And next we have in market. Now this is probably the best one to select. In market are people who are looking right now for this specific product. So for example, if people are looking right now for coffee, I want to select in market, right? Because these people are ready to buy and they're searching for it and they're in the market for coffee, right? So here we can click on, in market, and then we have a few things to pick from, right? We have all these other, all these different categories and stuff to choose from. So me personally, I find in market converts the best because it's people who are looking for it. Now, that doesn't mean that affinity is also, not worth it, because I actually do run affinity campaigns as well. And these do convert, a lot of these do convert. And, these actually tend to be repeat customers. They might not buy your product right now, but they could buy it later, right? So I would, have a combination of both and see which one works the best, right? Google AdWords is all about, A/B split testing and finding out which audience works best for you. Here I'll go to search, and here we have coffee, right? Now we have the audience segments, and then we also have the in market. So now you have a better understanding of what to pick, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and select coffee shop regulars, and we'll select food. And you know what? Coffee and espresso makers, I don't know about that. That could be debatable, but I'm not gonna go ahead and select that. But we're going to go ahead and just take a look at these other ones. But I think that's actually good, right? Maybe we'll just do baked goods, right? Maybe baked goods and coffee, croissants. We'll have to see how it does. I can't say that it's not going to convert, right? And here we have target setting for this campaign. Observation and targeting. Now, again, this is another Google's recommended thing. No, I want to do targeting. The main reason why is because observation is going to adjust your bid to be higher. Sometimes they're going to say, well, if we increase your bid just a few cents, maybe you'll get some more clicks. It's like, I don't want more clicks. Don't worry about it. I'll exhaust my budget and we'll go from there. So we're going to select targeting. This will save you guys a lot more money. All right. So now that I have my audiences and I got my, my targeting, let's go ahead and click on dynamic search ad settings. And here we're going to enter in the domain, kobecoffee.com. All right, we're going to use Google's index on my website. So they're pretty much going to analyze your website and give you suggestions based off what's on your website. Here we have more settings. You guys can choose a schedule. Now, in my personal opinion, the best days of the week, I would say, are Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The main reason why is because people are, they're all going back to work on Monday. They get on their computer, they get lazy, they want to start shopping. So in my opinion, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays are the best. And as the week goes down, conversions usually get weaker and weaker. But, it really depends on how strong you make your ad as well. I mean, you can make it broad and get millions of clicks, but that's my general experience. Sundays, not bad. You can get some clicks Sundays, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and those are pretty good days. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to select a start date and end date, right? And then here we have the ad schedule. So like I talked about earlier, we're going to select Monday through Friday, and I'm going to do, let's see, we'll do 7 in the morning to let's see here, we'll do, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Yeah, something like that. Something a little bit later in the afternoon where everyone's, they're kind of tired and they're all going home. All right, and we'll click on more settings. Campaign URL options. This does not apply to us because we are not using any third-party software. All right, and next we have keywords and ads. Now, you guys might see this or might not, right? We're gonna click a dynamic ad group. You guys can also delete this right here. And yeah, so this is for the basic keywords, but since we're using a dynamic ad, we're going to go ahead and trash this, and we're going to stick with dynamic ad group. Now we're gonna go ahead and put in our URL right here. So say kobecoffee.com. And we'll click on add. And once we do that, we're going to scroll down, and here is the actual dynamic ad. Now you guys can see I've already entered in some description. So we have description 1 and we have description 2. You can see the actual headline here is going to be dynamically generated depending on what the user actually types. So whatever they type in there, that's going to be our headline, right? So I want to add in some description. We have the best Indonesian coffee with a twist. We serve premium Arabica beans, right? Something like that. Arabica beans, right? Specialty Indonesian coffee with a twist. We also need to change this. You don't want to keep your description the same. You want to make sure they're both different. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in something else here. Our specialty coffee takes 60 days to make, which is very interesting, right? It's like 60 days, like I got to find out, what's that all about? It just sounds special, right? So there is my current ad. Now I'm gonna go ahead and click on done. Now, once that's done, you guys can create a second one if you guys choose to do that. So you guys can pretty much make like 1 or 2, and you can use more descriptions to find out which one's performing better, right? But I'm fine with just creating one for now, so I'm just gonna leave that one. But if you do want to create more, you guys can do that right there. I'll go ahead and click on cancel, and I'll click on next. So next we have site links. And guys, site links are crucial for ad success. A lot of people ignore site links because it's a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, it does take time to go through all the extensions and fill everything out. But the more site links you have, the more exposure you'll get, and also you'll get a better optimization score, which leads to a cheaper CPC. So I would highly recommend to add as much information as you can because Google loves detailed ads. Let me give you guys an example of what a site link extension is. Here I typed in hotels in Las Vegas. We have the actual title of the ad, description. These right here are site links, right? And this is another one. This is another extension with phone extension, right? So there are various extensions, right? But this is an example right here of the site links. So it's pretty much a directory of links from our websites. So we're gonna go ahead and add in a few just to get you guys started. All right, so I'm gonna click on new site link extension. And what is the first site link text? Well, I want to advertise my, what do we got over here? We got wine coffee, right? So I want to advertise my Kopi wine, right? So the best Indonesian wine, coffee, the best wine coffee, right? And then we'll go ahead and add in some description. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this text, and we'll go ahead and paste that bad boy in there. All right, way too much. All right, so yeah, 35 characters, guys. Not too much. Hold on, let's do that one more time here. All right, paste it in there. Let's see if that's enough. Here we go, just to give you guys an example, all right? Red grapes, right? And description 2. Go ahead and enter another one. All right, the coffee is planted very high, right? And then you're gonna put the final URL, which is the actual link, right? So I'm gonna take the link here, go back over here and paste it. Now, you guys want to add up to, I believe 4, right? 4 is the amount they give you, and I highly recommend to go through every one of these. The more that you guys add, the better that the ad will perform, resulting in a better optimization score, resulting in a cheaper click. All right, site link 2, let me go ahead and enter in some text. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to my other brand here, and we're going to paste that in there, right? So there we go. We got the wine coffee and we have the honey coffee. All right. So make sure to add more site links for better success. We're going to go ahead and scroll down here, and here we have site link URL options. Again, we're going to ignore this. This is for third-party tracking software. Here we have advanced options. You guys can actually set schedules for those if you guys want to do that. The main reason why is because sometimes you might run out of it. Sometimes you don't offer it. So you guys can actually run scheduling for your specific site links if you choose to do that. All right, and then I'll click on save. And all right, cool. We got 2 right here. All right, awesome. So we got 2 site links, yeah. But again, I would definitely recommend 4. So just so this is a good tutorial, we're gonna go ahead and add in 4, right? Something that I've already made. Now we're gonna go ahead and look at callout extensions. All right, guys, my bad. I couldn't find any, so we're gonna go ahead and take a look at Google Images. Here you can see this one ad. It says free shipping, 24/7 customer service, price matching. These are great examples of callout extensions. So over here, add in something that's engaging, right? 30-day money back, right? 30-day money back, free shipping, 24/7 customer support, and lastly, really good coffee. All right, that's cool. And I'll click on save. You guys can add more, but I think 4 is pretty good there. So we'll go ahead and leave it at 4. And we'll go ahead and scroll down. And here we have call extensions. Now, I did show you guys this earlier, and this was actually on the advertisement for the Hilton. So they actually do display the phone number on the ad. And this is a great thing to add because people can actually call you without even clicking on your ad. So I highly recommend to add call extensions. This will definitely save you guys money in the long run. So I'll go ahead and put in a number here. I'll put in their example number, right? And we'll go ahead and click on image extensions. So image extensions are great extensions to add for your ad. These are actually appearing mostly on mobile devices. However, I have seen these slowly start to appear on the actual Google search. Our ads got disapproved. We don't know why yet. And this actually might happen to you, and I'm kind of glad it did. If this ever happens, just try another image and you guys can actually contact the actual help and ask them about the image. Sometimes these will get disapproved for no reason whatsoever. And if you let Google know, they might actually take a look at your account and they'll manually approve it. This happens to me all the time where I have to tell them, hey, something's wrong with your system. Can you guys please approve it? And they usually do, all right? But you guys can go ahead and add in an image right here by clicking on New Image Extension, pick an image. And here I have quite a bit, you know. Now, if you guys don't have any images, you guys can use stock images. I believe they're actually like partners with some website. I think they're partners with Shutterstock or something. Yeah, Shutterstock, right? So let's go ahead and click on an image here. Let's click on this delicious coffee, right? All right, we'll go ahead and organize that. How does this one look? All right, it's beautiful. There we go. And I'll click on save. All right, cool. So there is my images. So these again appear a lot on mobile, but they are slowly appearing on desktop. So go ahead and click on save. And there are more extensions, guys, right? So there's price extensions, there's app extensions, there's a whole lot of extensions you guys can add. I would also highly recommend use price extensions. This will really help you weed out clients, right? So let's say, for example, I'm selling Indonesian coffee, which is very expensive. I mean, Kopi Luwak is like almost $100 for just like a little 250 grams. So I want to let people know that my coffee is expensive because I don't want people coming to my website thinking they're gonna get coffee for $10, right? It's like, no, like my coffee is a bit more expensive. So you guys might want to add in your price extension here. Something like fresh Kopi coffee. And this is like $49.99, right? And here we have the units, no units. The type, we're gonna select brands. Now, if this is an event, location, or something else, you'll select whatever applies to you, but mine is a brand, right? So Kopi Coffee is a brand. Here we have price qualifier. We have from, up to, and average. I'll select from, right? And then you'll add in some description, the URL of the actual products, and also for mobile devices, you can give them additional URLs. So the best Indonesian coffee. And let's just say, for example, I'm marketing this specific product. We'll go ahead and paste in this URL right here, right? And we'll also paste it in there. Now, I believe you guys have to add up to 4, I believe. I think it says, yeah, you have to add at least 4. So if you guys do use this, make sure you add 4, and the more the better, right? So that's an example of the price extensions. I highly recommend to use price extensions. It again showcases your prices without people having to click on your ad, which saves you money, right? All right, cool. And I can finally say that we're pretty much done with this dynamic ad. Whew, boo boy. All right, let's click on next. Let's see if we got any errors here. I hope not. All right, so for my specific coffee, they're saying I have to increase the bid. If this ever happens to you guys, just go ahead and fix it. You might see things that say you have to fix something. However, if there are recommendations, do not fix it. All right, so do not fix recommendations, but if it says that you have to fix something, go ahead and fix it. All right, so I went ahead and I adjusted my bid. I actually just set conversions and I just let them decide just for tutorial purposes. But again, one of the biggest cons with the dynamic search ads is they tend to be a little bit more expensive, right? So just keep that in mind. But I would use both to see which one works best for you. So let's go ahead now and click on Publish Campaign. All right, guys, well, congratulations. We have successfully created a Google Search Dynamic ad. Here at the top, you'll see this says bid strategy learning. This is very common, and Google is optimizing your ad for a specific bid strategy to get you the most clicks, hopefully at the best price, right? And here you'll get more information like your clicks, your impressions, and click-through rates. Now, one tip again, guys, is dynamic ads are a little bit more expensive. So if you see that the clicks are too expensive, don't worry about it. I'll show you guys how to create cheaper ads in this very next section. So now that you guys know how to create dynamic search ads, now let's create Google search ads with keywords. You guys ready? Let's do that. Let's go back over here to all campaigns. Click on create a campaign. And now we're going to create a search ad with keywords. And we're going to do the same exact thing here, except we're not going to select dynamic ads. So let's go ahead and click on campaign without a goals guidance. We'll click on search. And we're going to click on continue. Here we're gonna put search, or we'll do copy, search, non-dynamic, right? And then we'll click on continue. I'll go ahead and click on start new. Those are obviously campaigns I was running before. So we'll do the same exact thing here, except all we're gonna do is just, we're going to not add in the dynamic search. So for example, we'll put in $10, right? And we're gonna select clicks, and I'll click on next. Now, all these other settings you guys are already familiar with, so I'm not gonna talk about them again, obviously, right? But I'm gonna go ahead and uncheck these boxes here. And we're gonna scroll down. And here we have the audience segments and dynamic search. Now we're just gonna go ahead and skip these. The main reason why is because we now want to target specific keywords that we want to select. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on next. And now we're at the keywords and ads. Now, you guys can get keyword suggestions by actually putting in the URL of whatever site you want to advertise. Generally yours, right? So we'll go ahead and put in my website here. And this is just a helper, right? You don't have to use what they're giving you, but it's just a helper. So I'll put in copycoffee.com. And we'll press enter. Once you press enter, it's going to propagate a list of keywords, right? And here's a list of some keywords that we can select. So for example, we have coffee specialty, gourmet coffee, and all of these other keywords, right? Now there's 3 types of keywords. There is broad, phrase, and there is exact match. Let me explain what those are. So I'll go ahead right now and put in, I'll get rid of all these right here. So broad match, again, is a more broad sense of the actual keyword. So this can pretty much mean a lot of different gourmet coffees. Next, we have phrase match. Now what I've done here is I've actually pulled up Google's definition of phrase match. I'll go ahead and leave this article as well in the description below this video. But phrase match is a little bit more moderate, right? So with broad match, it's very broad. But with phrase match, it's a little bit more moderate. Here we can see the actual keyword is lawn mowing services. So here we have a few different keywords, right? We have lawn mowing services near me, hire company to mow lawn, landscaping services to cut grass. So Google interprets cut grass and lawn mowing as the same thing. So that's an example of phrase matching. And you guys can do that by going over here and just putting in like gourmet coffee for sale. And then we'll add in the quotations, and this equals a phrase match. So again, the phrase match is just a little bit more conservative, right? So you're just trying to narrow down your audience with phrase match. And lastly, we have exact match. Now, exact match is not really exact, but it's pretty much close to it. So exact match is basically saying the user must type in lawn mowing service. So here we have lawn mowing service, and then we also have grass cutting service, and Google interprets lawn mowing and grass cutting the same. I don't like that, to be honest, because there could be keywords that might look the same but are not, but that's an example of exact match. So for example, we'll go ahead and put in coffee. Let's see. Indonesian coffee for sale. And then we're going to put the bracket sign. I'm sorry, the bracket. It's actually right above the enter sign on the left side. It's above the quotation marks. And this right here is an example of exact. So this right here is an exact match. So the user must type in Indonesian coffee for sale for my ad to appear. Exact match is probably one of the best ones to add because it's very direct, and you can see you can really control when your ad shows up. Now, if you guys can't get any ideas here, you guys can always go ahead and just simply put in coffee and then click on update keywords, and they'll give you a list of keywords. Now, keyword research, I'll be very honest, it can be a little tedious, right? So you want to select anywhere between 20 to 30 keywords and see how those perform. Based on their performance, you want to go ahead and remove some or add some more and keep rotating them to find the optimal strategy for the best keywords. So with these keywords, you guys can see they're a lot cheaper, right? The average CPC is around 5 cents, and that's because they're more broad. But if you do something like Indonesian coffee for sale, that's a little bit more expensive because a lot of people intertwine Kopi coffee with Indonesian coffee, which is like the civet coffee, which is like the poop coffee, and that coffee is like $100. So the keyword for it is obviously very expensive. But here you guys can go ahead and do the same thing with these specific keywords. They'll get you more ideas and inspiration for what keywords to pick. All right, so now that I explained broad and phrase and exact, here we can actually go ahead and design the ad itself. So for example, here is the final URL, which would be the URL of your website. So mine is kobecoffee.com. And here we have the display path, and display path is also very similar to the YouTube ads display URL. I mean, they should just call this display URL, and this will be like, coffee premium. And all it does here is that it designs the permalink, but it doesn't change it. So for example, this says coffee premium, but it's still taking them to this specific URL. All right. And then here we have different headlines. I never recommend anything that Google has to offer. So anything they're telling me, I'm not going to do that, but we're going to go ahead and add in a few headlines. All right, so we have the first one, the second one, and the third one. Now here we can get an idea of the position. So we have show position 1. This one will show in position 2, and then this one will show in position 3 right here. All right, so those are the headlines of the actual ad. Now over here, we can go ahead and add in a few more. Now what Google's going to do here is they're pretty much going to rotate these ads, and the ad that performs the best, they're going to try to use it more as long as it's getting more clicks. So you guys can add up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can probably add up to 10, and you can add as many headlines as you want, and it'll rotate them to see which is the most performing clicked ad. And then you'll do the same thing for the descriptions right here. So for the descriptions, you guys can, I actually kind of like this from Google. They actually give us a lot of ideas from our website. I take that back, Google. I actually like the fact that you give us some recommendations from my website. So here I'll go ahead and just throw in some description. And here we go. So you can get an idea of how this looks, right? So we have the headline here, and it's also dynamically changing the description. Now this is the actual mobile view, and then also here we have the desktop view. So for example, this is exactly how the ad will look like on a computer, right? And then the URL options, we're not going to go ahead and select, and then we'll click on done. And here is our ad. So congratulations. We'll go ahead and click on next. And again, like we talked about earlier, you guys can add in as many extensions as you guys want. So you guys can go through the extensions, the callouts, and everything that we talked about earlier. I'll go ahead and click on next. And here they're basically saying, please add some site link extensions, and you guys should, and I do recommend that. But we're going to go ahead and click on publish campaign. And that's how you guys can create a search ad using keywords and not dynamic ads. I would recommend having both ads and see which one performs the best. It's really hard for me to give you guys a 100% honest answer on which ad will perform 100% the best. It's really all about trial and error and A/B split testing. So try different ads, different keywords, rotate them, see what works, and good luck. So now that you guys know how to create ads, let's go ahead and talk about these analytics. Now, a lot of these analytics right here are from YouTube ads. I have a big specialty in YouTube ads. I have another video that goes in detail on how to run specialty ads. But here's my ad for Kobe Coffee, right? And we actually did convert. For example, we got around 6 clicks. We paid around 64 cents on average, and the cost was around $3.83. But we did sell, I think, around $90 worth of coffee, right? So over here we do have a conversion rate. Our conversion rate is around 16.67, and yeah, we have converted some of these coffee sales through the ads, but I actually had to refund the customers because the website itself is not live. All right, so now that we know how to create a Google search ad and also a Google dynamic ad, now let's talk about negative keywords. Now, if you guys do decide to add your own keywords, like a lot of people do, you might want to add negative keywords. There's a lot of reasons for it, and let me go ahead and explain to you what they are and why you want to add them. So I'm over here under Google search, and let me give you an example of how broad search can actually hurt you, right? For example, I typed in free coffee, right? And we have a few ads, and this website right here pops up, and you can see that it's gluten-free and dairy-free, but the coffee itself is not free. The reason why this ad is showing up is because they probably added a broad match of coffee, and what they should have done here was added the negative word of free, right? Free, cheap, or or any country that you're not associated with are generally negative keywords that you might want to add. Here also we have community coffee for home, and I don't even think free shows up here, so they're obviously doing a broad match for coffee. So you guys might want to implement negative keywords in order to restrict your ads from showing in unnecessary places. So let me show you guys how to do that. So here we're back at our campaign, and we're going to go over here to keywords, and you're going to see this option for negative keywords. And we're gonna go ahead and add in some negative keywords. So we can go ahead and add this to a specific campaign. So for example, the campaign that we just ran, we can go ahead and select that. So next we're gonna add in some negative keywords to our current campaign. So let's go ahead and click on the campaign that we just created. So right here we have coffee search. And just like we added in broad, phrase, and exact, we can do the same thing for negative keywords. Now a very common one is free, right? Free, cheap. And what these are doing is this is pretty much a broad match of free and cheap, right? Also something like community, right? Or classes, because we don't want to, we're not selling coffee courses. We're not doing like coffee meetups. We are strictly selling coffee only. You guys can also do this with phrase match. I'll do coffee courses, right? And then we can also add another one here that'll actually help us out. Like for example, we'll do exact match of how to make coffee, right? I don't want my ad showing up when people put in how to make coffee, right? Because we're selling coffee, and if you do have a broad match of coffee, your ad will definitely show up if people type in how to make coffee. Now I went ahead and I pulled up this website. It's called komarketing.com, and they can give you guys ideas on some negative keywords. Like let's see, for example, tips, how to. A lot of the people might try to, want to do it themselves, so they might look for help. So you don't want your ad showing up there. Also, depending on your audience here, we have bargain, cheap, clearance. A lot of these words that are attracting like an audience that doesn't have a lot of money. I don't want to target these people, so I might want to restrict specific words like cheap and bargain and coupon, right? So for example, we'll go over here and we'll just do bargain, right? And then you do want to add in some diversity here. So you want to add in like, a few broad, you want to add a few phrase, and you also want to add in the most popular one, and that should be the exact. So I really want to exclude like coffee makers, coffee machines, and stuff like that, because it has no relevance to my, me selling coffee. So adding negative keywords to your list is a great way to save money, and also restricts your ads from appearing in unnecessary places. So you guys will probably have to do your own keyword research. This website's pretty helpful. I'll go ahead and leave this in the description for you guys if you want to check it out. They just help me get ideas as well, because even myself, it's really hard to think this off the top of my head, because later on you're like, oh yeah, courses, oh yeah, college, and just things kind of pop up slowly, So let's go ahead now and click on save. So here we go. We have some negative keywords. We have free, cheap, classes, community, bargain, maybe also meetup. Ooh, that's a good one, meetup. But here on the right side, you can see it actually shows a match type. So we have broad, exact, and also phrase as well. So yeah, it might take some research to do. It's, it will take time, but you do want to add in as many as possible, because it is your money that's being spent, and you want to be as conservative as possible. So that's what negative keywords are and how to add them. I recommend adding them to every campaign. Just a few, just add like maybe 10 to 15 just to get started with, and see how that goes from there. All right, now in this last part of the video, before we go into the display ads, I want to show you all how to set up conversion tracking. So in this part of the video, I'm going to show you how to connect the actual script onto your website. This is in case you are not using Google Analytics, so I'll show you guys how to set this up. Now I am using WordPress, so if you guys are using something else, you can use like a plugin on Shopify or something to follow along, but I'm gonna be using WordPress for this because it is the most popular CMS out there. So let me go ahead and show you guys how to set up AdWords with your WordPress websites. Now we're gonna go over here to dashboard, and I want you guys to install a free plugin. This will pretty much allow us to copy and paste the code onto our website without altering the theme. So we're gonna go to plugins and click on add new. And we're gonna type in HTML code, there we go. And you're gonna get a list of options. You can use a few plugins. You can use WP Code. This seems to be a very popular one, right? 1 million active installs. There's a few other you guys can use as well, but yeah, we'll go ahead and use this one right here, WP Code. You'll go ahead and click on install now, and then you'll click on activate. Once you guys install this plugin, you guys will then get a little tab right here that says code snippets. Go ahead and click on code snippets, and here is the code snippets. You guys can see I've already added this into my website. So now that we have the actual plugin to insert the HTML code, now let's go ahead and go to the conversion tracking and create an ad, and I'll show you guys how to set that up. So right here, we're gonna go to Tools and Settings, and we'll click on Conversions. And over here, I'll click on New Conversion Action. Now here we have conversion tracking. So we have website, app, phone calls, and you can also import this directly from Google Analytics. However, again, if you guys are not using Analytics, let's go ahead and show you guys how to do that. Oops, let's go ahead and go back. Well, first click on Website. This is gonna track online sales, link clicks, and also signups and sales. We're gonna go ahead and enter in our domain name, kobecoffee.com, and I'll click on Scan. Now right here we have a new option, and I'm gonna do my best to explain this. I actually contacted Google and I was on the phone for 2 hours and they didn't even know themselves. So I'm gonna try to explain this as best as I can, going based off of what they told me. So let me go ahead and show you guys an email really quick. So here's the conversation that me and one of the Google employees had. Now I wanna be very clear, this is a new feature, all right? So this came out, it's only been out for like maybe a month or two. So I wanted to go ahead and get some clarification on, do you need to add the HTML code onto your website if you are setting website events? Because right here it says, set up conversation actions without code, right? With no code. However, on the very next page, it asks you to insert the code onto the website. I'm not really sure. So what I decided to do was actually ask their employees. And here's what they said. I put, create conversions automatically from website events. If we add the URLs, do we need to add the HTML code? We are very confused. I checked documentation. It's too broad to understand. Well, they responded with, whether they purchase a product, sign up for a newsletter, call your business, yada, 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 these are called conversions. I put, yes, I'm very aware of this. We are referring to recording actions based off website events, right? And I put, if so, then I'm sorry, he wrote, if so, you can use HTML code to record conversions. That's not what I asked, right? I put, if we are, I'm sorry, recording actions based off website events, we must use this code. It says no code needed on the page. And I sent him 2 screenshots. He then replies, it should be better to use the code. The conversion tracking process works a little different for each conversion. So I asked him again, let me rephrase my question. Do we need to use the code or not? Will we be able to record transactions without the code? He responds, using the code should be better. So I don't know if it requires it, and I truly believe this guy has no idea whatsoever. So although I am not sure if you need to actually add this plugin in, I'm gonna show you how to do it anyways, just because I don't wanna be responsible if your actual website doesn't record anything, right? So let's go ahead and talk about how to set all this up. All right, so we have create conversions automatically based off website events. Now, a very common thing to add here is thank you pages, add to carts, and also like redirect pages, right? For example, if you guys want to record contacts, maybe you're trying to get leads, you guys can do that. For example, on my website, kobecoffee.com, I'll go to my contact form. Now, depending on what contact form you're using, a lot of these have redirection features. That means if someone fills this out, it'll take them to another page. Let me give you an example. We'll go ahead and put in Daryl Wilson. All right. And then, hey man. And then I'll go ahead and click on submit. Now I don't want to record this URL. I want to record this one right here. So after they fill out the form, it then takes them to another page. This is the page that I want to record. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this. We'll go back over here and we're gonna put the URL is, and we're gonna paste in that URL and click on add. So let's reiterate here. If the person goes to this specific page using the ad, Google's gonna record this as a conversion, right? It makes sense. Now let's go ahead and add in another event. Let's just imagine that you're an e-commerce website and you wanna sell something. So I'll click on add events and we'll click on conversion goal and we'll click on purchase. Now, a very common one to add here is a thank you page, right? Anyone who has purchased anything is usually taken to a thank you page, right? So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna put the URL is, and we're gonna go to my website over here and we're gonna find the actual thank you page. Now, if you guys are using WooCommerce, like most of you probably are, WooCommerce actually has a page that is a thank you page, right? So let's go to all pages here and we're gonna find the thank you page. It's not that one. It's order complete. Yeah, there we go. Order complete. All right. And we'll take this page here and we'll go ahead and paste in the URL code. So I'll go ahead and add that in there. Now, again, let's reiterate here. So what I'm saying here is if the user somehow goes to the order complete page, this is going to be a purchase conversion. Now, there is one con to doing this, but it's not really a con. If the user somehow magically finds this URL by himself and he types in order-complete, then there might be a conversion, right? But that's really not practical, and I don't think people go to websites and try to find the thank you pages and the checkout pages for those websites. So this is a great way on how to record website events, right? So we pretty much set all of this up. Now let's go ahead and scroll down here and let's click on Save and Continue. This one right here is manual using code. Now go ahead and click on Save and Continue. So here we have the next step. And we're gonna go ahead and scroll down here, and I actually have to log into my other account because the other one was actually automatically integrated. So here we're gonna go ahead and copy this HTML tag. We're then gonna go back to our website and we're gonna paste this code on our website. So we'll go back to our code snippets, and here I'll click on Add New. And we have Add Your Custom Code Snippet, Use Snippet. And this will be for AdWords, right? AdWords tracking. And we'll go ahead and paste this snippet there. We'll make sure it's in the site-wide header. And that's pretty much it. And then I'll click on Save Snippet. And we're done. So that's pretty much it. That's all you guys have to do in order to connect this. Now, even myself, I really wasn't sure if the conversion tracking was working through the HTML code or if it was actually working without the code. I had no idea. So just to be on the safe side, I decided to add this in the video. But if you guys don't want to add it and see if it works without it, go for it, you know? I'll go ahead now and click on Done. Now, once you guys do that, it's going to say unverified here. And hold on, we gotta go to the setup wizard here. All right, all those pop-ups. It's gonna say unverified for a few hours. So just give it a few hours. But let me show you guys when the conversion tracking is properly set up. I'll go ahead and go to my other account here. And here we can see on my other account that we have no recent conversions. So it is recording it. It's just there's no recent conversions because obviously we're all doing this for just tutorial purposes. But if you get the no recent conversions, or if it says recording or something like that, then it means it's synced up and connected. All right, party people, well, congratulations on finishing section 2. This was a lot larger than I thought it was, but I think you guys got a lot of value and you learned a lot in this section. So now that we know how to create search ads, now let's talk about display ads. Display ads are very effective for branding campaigns. Even myself, I actually make quite a bit of money with the actual display network. The main reason why is because you can display images on websites that showcase your product or your service. And I think it's a little bit more influential than just random text, right? So now let's go ahead and talk about the display network. All right, party people, welcome to section 3. So in this part of the video, I'll show you how to set up Google display ads. Now, I love display ads. They're the best way to promote your brand and business and really get the word out about your product or service. So let's go ahead and create our first display ad. Now, again, in case you guys have not seen my previous section, display ads are pretty much banner ads that appear on various websites. They can appear on pretty much any website that you choose, right? And it looks like this, there's a little image, it has some text, and you can add in your own text, and Google actually has some tools to help you out create some really nice display ads. So let's go ahead and create some. So here we have our campaign objective, and by now you guys know we're gonna select campaign without a goals guidance. So next we're gonna select a campaign type, and we're gonna select display. Now really quick, these other ads, Performance Max, again, this is just a mixture of various ads. I don't recommend it. Search ads, we just talked about that. Video ads, I actually do have another video that talks about how to use YouTube ads. I am a pro with YouTube ads, and I have a video on that. And also we have discovery ads. These ads are kind of shown in really low quality places like your Gmail accounts and just other, various parts of the internet. In my opinion, discovery ads are sort of like display ads, but they have very low click-through rates, but they're pretty cheap. So in your own time, you might want to check those out, but display ads I think are a lot better. So go ahead and click on display. And here we have our conversion goals. Now we're just gonna go ahead and ignore this. I showed you guys how to set this up in the last section. So if you guys have not seen that, go ahead and check it out. And we'll click on continue. So we'll go ahead and put in our business name, copycoffee.com. And this is copy display. and I'll click on continue. So we're going to go ahead and click on start new. Those are obviously draft. So now that you guys have a better understanding of ads, I'm not going to really go through every single option again and explain it, because in the previous section I talked about, locations, languages, and all these other options, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select United States, English, more settings, and here we have more options. Just like we had the previous section where I showed you all these settings, you have the same options for the display ads. So for example, we have the ad rotation, we have the ad schedule. Feel like maybe Monday through Fridays, and we'll select something like, maybe 4 a.m. or something like that. 4 a.m. to, I don't know, like 2 or something, right? I'll go ahead and add that. And for more settings, devices. So you can display this on computers, mobiles, or tablets. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter. In fact, I actually get better click-through rates on mobile devices, and they're usually a lot cheaper as well. And then we'll go ahead and scroll down here. We have our campaign URL options, which we are not going to use because we are not using any third-party tracking software. Dynamic ads. Dynamic ads are not available for us unless you guys already have previous data. So we're not going to select dynamic ads. And then we also have some other stuff where you guys can check out, like, the start and end date of the ad itself, and also content exclusion, where you can pretty much limit it for specific audiences. But I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to market it to pretty much anyone who might be interested. I'll go ahead and click on next. So next we have the budgets, and I'm going to select $10 for the average daily budgets. We'll go ahead and scroll down. Now here they want us to focus on conversions and all this stuff. I'm just going to click on select a bid strategy directly. And of course they don't recommend it because that means we have more control over our ad. So I'm going to click on select a bid strategy directly, and I'm going to explain these really quick. So here we have a few different options, right? We have viewable CPM, manual CPC, and then we have maximize clicks. Now for display ads specifically, a lot of people tend to run CPM. CPM means for every 1,000 times people have seen the ad, you will then be charged. Now, they're not charging you for clicks. So for example, if 500 people clicked on the ad when it was shown 1,000 times, you're not charged 500 times. You're just charged for the amount of times people have actually seen the ad. So if you do have a really effective ad that looks great, you can save a lot more money with CPM because you're not being charged for clicks. However, you guys can also do maximize clicks, which is pretty much saying we're going to try to get you as much clicks as possible, right? And then over here we have manual CPC, where you can say, you know what, I want to set the bid rate, for the actual click, right? Now here we have this enhanced CPC. Take that off. Always take that off. And they're saying, no, wait. What they're going to try to do here is they're going to try to recommend your ad to people who are probably not interested in, and that's usually what I've seen. So I'm going to go ahead and put maybe like, here we go, we have 1 cent, right? 1 cent, that's it. So for every click, you're going to pay around 1 cent. And you'll see over here, the average CPC is 1 cent, right? So as you guys can see, display ads are incredibly cheap, right? You can get thousands of clicks for very little money. Now here we have viewable CPM. And we're going to go ahead and put in 5 cents. And let me show you guys the feedback here. So Google is pretty much saying we can give you 500,000 impressions for around 5 cents. Now, 1 cent is 1 click, right? But over here, we get all these impressions for, around 5 cents. That's a lot of impressions, right? So if you guys do have a really effective ad, CPM would work much better, right? And I do recommend CPM. Make sure you guys get a good ad. Spend some time and put some effort into this, put your back into it. Let's go ahead now and click on next. So again, to summarize, I recommend CPM for display ads. Other Google ad people might disagree, or they might have their own theory or whatever, but that's what I currently recommend, and that's what I use for my store. Here we have ad targeting. Now, this is pretty much trying to narrow this down, right? So here we have who should see your ads, and then we have some demographics. We also have topics, placements, like where do you want your ads to show. So we do have a lot of power right here. We can pretty much say, I want this person to see my ad. If they have a kid or if they're a parent, I also want them to see it. And I also want to show it on this specific website. So as you guys can tell, you guys can really narrow it down with display ads. Let's first go ahead and click on audience segment. You guys saw this earlier, right? So here we can create a segment on people who should see the ad. If you guys do want to add this, you guys can go ahead and just select them all here. In my personal opinion, Later on, we have placements, right? And I like placements better because you can pretty much put your ads on specific websites that relate directly to the actual product. Now, that can have some sort of negative effect as well. For example, if I put my coffee website on coffee.com, they might want to buy that coffee and not my coffee, right? But still, I want my ad shown on people who have some interest in coffee. So you guys can go this route here if you want to do that, where you want to select audiences. But let me give you an alternative of what I suggest. All right, so I'm going to uncheck these. There's really no right or wrong way to add targeting. It's really all about what makes money, right? If it makes you money, keep going for it, But optimize targeting. Turn this off. All right, cool. Is it already off? All right, cool. Yeah, it's off. Add targeting. Here we have placements. Now, I'm a bigger fan of placements because I want to put my ads on websites that have direct relationship with my product. I'll go ahead and type in, I'll click on websites here, and we're going to type in coffee. And what Google's going to do here is they're going to pretty much find some of the large authority websites that relate with coffee, and that's where my ad will be displayed. So here it is. It's going to go ahead and give us a little example. All right, so here we go. Here you can see we have a list of coffee websites that relate to coffee. And as you can tell, there are a lot of them, right? And we can even load more. Here is their impressions per week. So impressions is pretty much how many times people actually view the actual store. So for example, we'll go ahead and just click on like maybe, 15, 20 websites. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, one thing I do also want to mention, you might want to check these websites out. All right, just go ahead and check them out, just to make sure they're not PBNs, or make sure they're just not, make sure it's, you have some relation to the website. So do your research and do actually check every website just to make sure that it does relates to your product. Because some of these might be like coffee video games or coffee communities or something. And, it just depends on what you want to go with. But we're going to go ahead and select all these here. All right. And all these websites are actually signed up to the Google AdSense program. So these companies make money through our clicks with AdSense. So that's how it's all tied up, right? So we're now paying these websites with their banners. So, that's how it's all tied together there. So let's go ahead and just, click on maybe, actually not VN, but here we go. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at our available impressions. We have at least 44 million impressions available, right? So placements is a pretty good option if you guys want to select that. It's something that gives you a little bit more flexibility, and it showcases your products on websites that already have some sort of commonality with your product. So that's placements. Now, this is really all up to you guys. This is really kind of where, I can't really give you that much advice on except placements. You can go ahead and target keywords. So let's say, for example, someone types something in with their keywords, then whatever site they go to next, if they have a banner space, it'll display on that website, right? So you can go that route as well, but I find that keywords actually limit your exposure. You have a lot better options with placements or audience segments than keywords, because keywords, again, they tend to limit your exposure when it comes to display advertising. All right, and then we also have the demographics. So you can choose to set specific demographics, right? Now, this is actually pretty helpful. So here's an interesting fact. Women tend to buy products more than men. Now, this isn't the case with everything. For example, gaming mouses. Men probably buy gaming mouses more, right? And for women, they tend to buy clothes more or feminine products more. Men, masculine products. So again, depending on what you're selling, you might want to restrict a specific gender. Now, for all my ads, I always get rid of unknown, strictly because if Google doesn't know them, then I don't want to market to these people that they don't know, right? So they could be weird accounts, or I don't know, but I just want to make sure that all of the unknowns are unchecked and just market to people that are actually known. All right, and we'll go ahead and click on one more, which are topics. So next we have topics, and I bet you guys are wondering, wait a minute, didn't we already select audience segment, right? Here we have the audience segments. Now let me explain the difference here. Audience segments are people who have an interest, right? So if we do select audience segments, we're selecting people who have an interest. It doesn't matter what website they go to, we're going to market to those specific people, right? Now, the topics is websites with specific topics. So it doesn't matter who goes to the website, we're going to market to those specific visitors on that website, right? So you can choose topics, but in my opinion, topics drastically lower my impression rate. So I just tend not to use them. Now, again, if you guys are going to ask me what would I recommend out of all these targeting, I would definitely go with the audience segments. I think audience segments is a great second approach. And I'm also a big fan of placements because here you can just target directly on what websites you want it to go to instead of guessing and randomly where it goes. Now, if you guys find yourself getting less impressions, I would definitely go with the audience segments. And again, it really depends on what you want to approach. Remember earlier how we talked about affinity versus in-market, right? So affinity and in-market are very popular. And if you guys find placements not working, I would definitely go with the audience segment and go with in-markets, which are people who are looking for coffee. And I would definitely go with affinity. That means people who have a common interest with coffee, but are not necessarily looking for it right now. So that's my opinion. The first one, placements, and the second one I'll go with is the audience segment with a mixture of in-markets and affinity. You guys got that? You guys agreed? All right, cool. Let's keep going here. All right, so now that we've selected all of this stuff right here, we'll go ahead and just, we'll go ahead and grab some more here, you know. Tea for turmeric, see? You guys gotta be careful. This is a tea website, but people who drink tea might like coffee too, right? It depends, just see what works, you know, go knock yourself out. Optimize targeting. Make sure to turn this off and watch what happens to our impressions. Let's see, it's at 13 million right now. Okay, now optimize targeting, it didn't show earlier, but this pretty much sends it to people who generally probably are not interested in your product. And this is Google's way of just trying to make you spend more money. And I don't recommend optimized targeting whatsoever. So let's go ahead now and click on next. And here's where we're gonna actually create the ad. So what is the last URL you want them to go to, right? Well, in my case, we're gonna do copycoffee.com. So make sure you enter an HTTPS and then your websites. Now you guys must have an HTTPS, which is pretty much this green padlock, right? If your website does not have it, try my web hosting company, namehero.com. They're a great hosting company and they'll give you free SSLs on all your websites. I'll go ahead and leave a link below to namehero.com, which is my current hosting. And here we're gonna put our business name. So Kopi Coffee. All right. Let's see. There it is, Kopi Coffee. All right. Now here it's actually starting to dynamically get info from our website. Now here is the images. Now this is where the magic happens, guys. This is where you're gonna get beautiful images for your banner campaign. Now in my opinion, I would use third-party services like Freelancer or Upwork or Fiverr to create beautiful banners versus, you know, Google's stock images, right? Because everyone's using those and they're really not special. So for example, this is a beautiful banner, right? This is a beautiful banner, right? This is a beautiful banner, this one, but I like these ones. These ones are really, really good. So we're gonna go ahead and save those. Now again, if you have no images, you'll click on stock images and you can, you know, just put in like coffee, or if you have a website, you can put in your website and it will pull all the images from your website, all right? So for example, if I do copycoffee.com, it should pull the images, right? Yeah, there we go. It's grabbing some images, right? But it doesn't have my logo, but hey, that's okay. Now here you can scan the websites, right? I think that's actually what I was looking for there, right? Yeah, copycoffee.com, right? And then also you can upload them directly right here. All right, and once you upload them, they will all be stored in your asset library. You guys got that? All right, so let's do this. Oh, wait. Go back and we're gonna save that. Oops, I actually forgot to save that. So let's take a look at the ad now. So now that I uploaded the images, it's going to give us a quick little presentation of our ad here. Let's go ahead and move this around here. Oh, there it is. All right. And that is a beautiful ad. I mean, this right here, it's a great ad. I mean, it has the brand name, right? And remember, you want to include your brand because this is a branding campaign, right? You know, duh. And here we have the bag and it looks great, right? So we have the products, the brands, and we want to keep spamming that throughout the internet. Spam, you know? Let's go ahead now and add in our logo. Let's go ahead and quickly add in our logo here. All right, we'll go ahead and add in the logo. This again will display on ads. I mean, it really depends. It's hard for me to even say where it shows up. It'll probably show up somewhere, guys. It'll show up somewhere on your mobile device, most likely. Here you can see that we have the brand, right? This looks kind of weird, but hopefully it doesn't appear like that. And then we have videos. So if you guys do have videos, you guys can also upload videos here. Now this is where you're gonna enter in your headline. Okay, so here we go. We got enough headlines, right? We have fresh from Indonesia, Kopi coffee, delicious coffee, try Kopi coffee, premium coffee. You really want to put your brand out there and spam it out there because you're creating a branding campaign. And this is what we do, we spam stuff. Here we have a long headline where you guys can add as well. This should display on some ads, not all of them, but where it is appropriate, it'll display. And again, it's hard for me to see it, but you guys can get examples of the ad, and just depending on the website and the sidebar structure or where it's going to display, it'll appear in specific ways. So let's go ahead and go back down, and we have our long headline. And then we have our description. So we're gonna go ahead and add in a little bit more description, specialty in Indonesian coffee with a twist. And remember, Google's going to constantly rotate these ads, right? It's gonna rotate them and it's gonna find out which is the best performing ad. Fresh roasted coffee from Indonesia. All right, now you guys obviously need to add in more description here. You can see that this is 90 words. So I would add as much as you possibly can to exhaust that. You don't want to have very short descriptions because you want the ad to spread out and be longer, right? So you want to add in as much description as you possibly can. So use asset enhancements. I believe Google will actually optimize your ad, the layouts, depending on the website. Me personally, I just leave it checked. I don't really know 100%. So next we have the use generated video. Now, if you guys did upload a video up here, it can actually start to autoplay on websites. Have you guys ever been to like those news websites and that video pop out comes on the bottom right of the screen, it starts to play? Me personally, I find those very annoying, but if you do want to add them, you can, auto generate it. And lastly, we have the native formats. I again uncheck this because they are trying to expand your reach to other publishers that we might not know about, right? So I leave this unchecked because I've already selected where I want my ad to show, right? It's like, no, thank you, Google. Let me put my ad where I want, Here we have a little bit more options, and I actually do recommend this. Call to text actions. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put in like shop now, all right? And if we scroll back up to the ad, you're gonna see these have little shop nows, right? I do like that. I think those look pretty cool. And again, it's just more space. You see how now it's even bigger. So the box is getting bigger now because we keep adding in more stuff. That's a good strategy, right? The bigger, the better. All right, and we'll go ahead and scroll down here and we'll click on create an ad. Now that we've created this ad, we'll go ahead and click on next. Now, if there's any errors up here, Google's gonna let you know. And I get quite a bunch of errors actually, but looks like this time we got no errors. So you'll just go ahead and take a look here one more time, make sure everything's good. It looks like since we have picked our specific interest right here in our coffee, we're getting around 190 to 1.2K impressions for around 1 cent, right? That's still not bad, right? But after your target audience and you pick the websites, the bid will actually adjust. But I'm very happy with that. So let's go ahead now and publish this campaign. All right, party people, and there it is. So we have now successfully created our ad. Now over here under all campaigns, you're gonna see the numbers start coming in very slowly. I would wait maybe around 3 to 6 hours or even 1 day. Google pretty much tells you to wait 1 day. If your ad still does not show after 1 day, go ahead and contact them, and you can do that with the help up here, and then you can talk to an agent with live chats and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how you guys can create a display ad. Now I also do want to talk about one more thing before I let you go, and I'm also going to touch base on this on the next section. Conversion rates are good, right? But if you don't have a good looking website, it doesn't matter how much money you spend, right? It just will not convert. For example, here's an example of an ugly website, right? If I brought 1 million people to this website, they're probably not gonna buy anything. I mean, it just looks so cluttered, it's weird looking, and no offense to the owner, but I mean, look at this overlapping text. It's just too much going on, right? But if they saw a website that looks like this right here, their odds of converting would be a lot higher. So landing page strategy is half the battle. The ad itself is, 50% of the actual strategy, but you also need to have a really good looking website that makes sense. And again, if you guys do want layouts, I have them on my website and I highly recommend it because I just don't want you guys wasting all this money on ads and then later being disappointed saying, well, no one's converting. It could be your website. So just keep an open mind about that. Also, for example, we have this website, which I don't even know what they're selling. It says a fruit juice or something. And it's just, I mean, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And then you have a website that looks like this, right? It's more direct, it's a lot easier to understand. It looks good to the eye. And as you scroll, you just feel like it's like, it's just simple, it's easy, and it's right to the point. So again, landing page strategies is great. If you guys do need help, again, I do have several templates on my website that I would highly recommend to go check it out. Well, thank you guys for watching this part of the video. Let's go ahead and go to the last section and now talk about resources. All right, party people, welcome to section 4. So in this part of the video, I'm gonna show you guys some really helpful resources that can help you make successful ads. Take a look at this screen right here. We have a lot of these beautiful mock-ups, right? We have our coffee on these cups, and it looks beautiful. We have this other girl and showcasing our product. We even have a video right here where it's playing videos with our brand on it, right? So it's really, really cool. Now with this website, you simply take your logo and you can apply it to different mock-ups. So let me go ahead and give you guys an example. This is a website called placeit.net, and these are my purchases. But let's go over here and just go to like apparel, right? Now with this website, you can take your actual product and you can put it on banners. You can put it, anywhere you want. For example, here we have a bunch of different people, right? And you can see that we can actually add in our specific logo on these people. So you can go ahead and, pretty much put it anywhere. You can put your brand right here, right? And the website does everything for you, and you can actually place it exactly where you want it to go. So it's very, very helpful. So let's go over here to all products and let's click on coffee mugs, right? And as you guys can tell, we've added our coffee brands on, these coffee mugs on our website, and you can just simply click on it and the website will do the rest for you. They can also create banners, and these could help you out. We have a bunch of different ones you can pick from. And for example, if you want to kind of get like, spicy and say, like put our brand right here, you guys can do that. Let's go ahead and click on this one right here. So there we go. There is my current ad. And you guys can showcase this or something, or add it on a cup or whatever you want to do. But this website actually is pretty helpful. They are on a subscription, so I believe it's around $7 a month or something like that. I am a current paying customer, so I do have an account with these guys. But for what they offered, it is pretty helpful. They can also help you guys with promotional videos, like we have Instagram stories, slideshow videos, intro makers, and also promo videos. So the website does offer just a massive amount of different services that you can use, and it's only like $7 or $10 a month. It's really, really cheap. So if you guys do need help with like videos or banners or some sort of promotional material for your website, I would definitely recommend placeit.net. Let's go ahead now and take a look at another website that I use. So this is freelancer.com, and the images that you guys saw in this tutorial and on my website, this was all created from freelancer.com. Here is my current designer right here, and you can see we have been working on this for at least a month. And here's what my designer made. So he made this one, he made this one, and he also made this one here and this one here. Me personally, I would definitely hire a designer and have it custom made, because remember, this is a branding campaign and you really want to showcase your product. So you want to have something unique that no one else has. And it's really easy to get started. All you guys need to do up here is click on post a project once you guys log in and make an account. And then you can pretty much say like, I need a banner or promotional material for my website, or I need you to create my brand, or I need a brand or something like that, right? So like I need a new brand for coffee and display banners. And then for the tell us about the more project, you can say, hey, we're a coffee website and we do this. We offer Brazilian coffee or something, just to give the designer a little bit more details about your product. Now, this website's actually pretty helpful and I do use it. And I also use another website called Upwork.com. So this is Upwork.com, and this is also another great resource on where to find freelancers. I actually have several people that I hire. You can see my postings. We hire a lot of content writers from this website. We've also hired our video animator for this channel from Upwork, and we also have our video editor for my other channels that we found on Upwork.com. So Upwork.com is also a great resource on how to find freelancers that are good at designing banners and also creating brands. And the last resource is my website. So if you guys do need really nice custom templates, we have a lot of really nice ones that we've created. Right now we have around 100 plus templates, and we make around 10 every single month. And we also do have two different plans. We have the single purchase, and we also do have the all access. If you guys do purchase the all access, you guys get access to all of our kits, plus our future kits that we add. I believe it's around 200 bucks. And again, that gives you access to all of our premium template kits. And these are made, from the ground up, right? So these are not on other websites, and these also have like 10 to 15 pages each. So we do put a lot of work and effort into these template kits. So if you guys do need help with design and you suck at it, no problem. Go ahead and check out some of these template kits. I will leave a link in the description below to this website. All right, party people, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Whew, this video took a lot longer than I thought I was gonna make. It took me quite a bit of time. You guys probably noticed also that I got a haircut, and then other parts of the video I didn't get a haircut. This video took a few days to record, but yeah, that's that. But I truly hope this video brought a lot of value, and I really hope to help you guys out get in the right direction with AdWords. If you guys do have any questions for me, feel free to let me know in the comments below. In case you guys are wondering, I'm not on a script, so I just talk and I go as I go, right? But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to like this video, leave me a really nice comments, and I will see all of you party people in the next video, guys. Take care.